I'm Claudia Gonzalez with Cova Wealth Management and a Chamber Diplomat. And we're excited to welcome you to the February Power Networking Breakfast presented by Serpro of Lufkin, South Nacogdoches County. Our February sponsor is the Heart Institute of East Texas, and we're looking forward to an engaging presentation by Dr. Bachireddy on living a heart-healthy life, prevent heart attack and stroke in this pandemic era. Welcome, Dr. Bachireddy.
Hi, good morning. Today is, this month is a heart month, so it's very appropriate for us to talk about living a heart-healthy life and preventing heart attack and stroke. So, February is the National Heart Month. What does it mean? It means this is a Heart Awareness Month, a perfect time to learn about signs and symptoms and risk factors for heart disease and the steps you can take to prevent heart attacks and strokes together. Well, we all know heart disease is the leading cause of death in this country, also in both for men and women in the United States. That is, every year, 1 in 4 deaths are caused by heart disease. How about this in East Texas? Unfortunately, East Texas has more incidents of cardiovascular disease than the rest of the state of Texas. So let me say and repeat something that has been said more than almost 2 centuries ago. Benjamin Disraeli was the British Prime Minister, a statesman and a scholar, who said, "The economy and the happiness of the state depend on the health of the people." And it is true even today. So cardiovascular disease and lung disease are widely prevalent in East Texas communities. All the counties in East Texas, Angelina County, Polk County, San Augustine, Shelby, Jasper, Tyler, and Sabine counties, all these counties have very high prevalence of cardiovascular disease. There's one thing in common for all these counties, that is unhealthy eating habits as well as inactivity. Both those things play a significant role in the high incidence of cardiovascular disease in this region. In addition to other risk factors like smoking is widely prevalent in these counties. So I just want to ask you, I'm sure most of you know now what is the number one killer in USA and what is the number one killer in women. Some of you know that too. What percentage of people have silent heart attacks and how many people follow physical activity guidelines, federal guidelines? And what is the ideal healthy diet? And how many people in this country follow federal guidelines? And let's talk about these. Before we do that, I want to give you some facts about cardiovascular diseases, especially in the United States. Heart disease, as I mentioned before, number one cause of death in both men and women. 655,000 Americans die each year. That is 1 in 4 deaths. Fairly significant. The economic impact on this country is even more, $219 billion per year. Cardiovascular disease kills more Americans each year than the next 4 causes of death combined. And after age 40, both men and women have an increased risk of coronary heart disease. Heart attack and sudden death is often the first symptom for coronary heart disease. What it means is, I'm sure you have heard and seen people dying suddenly of heart attack. They've been fine an hour ago, a day ago. They die in their sleep, or they die while watching TV. So that's sudden death, and that happens with heart disease. More women die of heart disease, stroke, and other cardiovascular disease than men. We did not know this fact in 1980s and 90s. And once we knew this, we paid more attention to the risk factors in women too. Now, the last fact is every 34 seconds, someone has a heart attack. So that tells you the significance of heart disease and why we should prevent it. Heart disease is the leading cause of death both in men and women, regardless of race and ethnicity. So African American females, males, white males and females, Hispanic, they have very high incidence of heart diseases. Heart disease is much more common in African American females because they have more risk factors than other races. So almost 82 million American adults have heart disease. That's a staggering number. And that's also the reason why we should pay more attention to this deadly disease. With proper education, and that's the good news, proper education and lifestyle changes, we can continue to decrease heart disease mortality. If you look at 1970s and 80s, heart disease mortality was fairly significant. With proper education and lifestyle changes and revolutionary medications and state-of-the-art treatment technologies, we have made a dent in the incidence of heart disease, steadily declined to the present day. So if you can see, the red line is females. The incidence was much higher in late 90s and early 2000s. The incidence dropped almost to the same level as men once we recognized heart disease is also highly prevalent and number one killer in women. Next. Well, what is cardiovascular disease? The most common heart diseases are coronary heart disease, where the coronary arteries in the which supply blood to the heart are blocked, or peripheral arterial disease, where the blood vessels to the lower extremities are blocked, or the stroke, when the arteries that supply blood to the brain are blocked. And other heart diseases are heart failure, when the pump fails, atrial fibrillation, when the electrical system fails, and sudden cardiac arrest, when the heart suddenly stops working, and congenital heart disease, where the heart conditions are present at birth, as well as valvular heart disease, when the valves, like mitral valve, aortic valves, are involved, and that's called valvular heart disease. So now let's talk about the heart attack, which is the most common form of heart disease. What is a heart attack? And what are the signs and symptoms of a heart attack? And what causes heart attacks? How do you diagnose heart attacks? Is heart attack preventable? Will you recover from a heart attack? Why are lifestyle changes so important? All these are very pertinent questions, and I'm sure most of you have these questions in your mind. And let's answer one after the other. The research and study also says silent heart attacks are common, much more common than we thought in the past. We have about 200,000 silent heart attacks a year. That accounts for 40 to 60% of all heart attacks, and they're more common in diabetics. So diabetics should be aware of this, that they can have silent heart attacks without any major symptoms. That's why it's important to have a checkup done on a regular basis. So let's learn about ABCs of heart attack prevention, right? This is very important because of all the facts we have seen about the cardiovascular diseases. Number one, you should know your symptoms, extremely important, so you can help yourselves. Number two, you should know your risk factors, so you should know how to prevent progression of the cardiovascular diseases, as well as prevent heart attack. And the lifestyle changes you should know is the best defense against the heart attacks and strokes. So what are the symptoms of heart attack? Well, the most common one is chest pain, heavy feeling, pressure, pain, squeezing sensation in the middle of the chest, or burning in the middle of the chest, which lasts more than few minutes, especially if you have risk factors. and the pain that goes to the shoulders, neck, or arms, or to the jaws. The discomfort in the chest with lightheadedness, fainting, sweating, nausea, or shortness of breath. All these are major symptoms of heart attack. The heart attack symptoms in women can be atypical. That's why it takes longer for them to recognize they're having a heart attack and may delay the treatment. That's why it's important for you to know the symptoms of heart attack in women. Although the chest pain is common, some women may not experience chest pain. They may have just shortness of breath. They may have weakness and fatigue. They may have back pain, neck pain, jaw, or shoulder pain. They may have nausea, vomiting, and indigestion, or dizziness and cold sweat. How do you recognize this? The way to recognize is if you have risk factors, then you should pay more attention to these. That means something is happening. You should get help right away. So what do you do in terms of emergency? If you're thinking you are having a heart attack, or if you are thinking if you have a chest pain on exertion, you should call your doctor. But if you think you are having a heart attack, as the symptoms I mentioned before, the chest pain would not go away, call 911. That's the best way you can get help immediately. The other way that you can help are the family members, or the friends, or some of the community members who are nearby. They should know how to perform basic CPR. So they could perform CPR someone who had a heart attack and cardiac arrest. So when you think you're having a heart attack, you should chew 2 adult aspirins. That's very important, especially when you have risk factors. So let's learn about heart attack, right? Heart attack occurs when the blood vessels which supply nutrient blood to the heart muscle are blocked. So if you can see this slide, the plaque builds up inside the vessel wall gradually, and then the plaque suddenly ruptures, causing the clot formation and blocking of the heart completely. That's how the heart attack happens. The atherosclerotic process, that is plaque buildup, happens at very young age. So that's why it's so important to understand the risk factors so you can help yourself, especially with regards to the diet, exercise, and if your cholesterol is high, you should take care of the high cholesterol with medications, in addition to the diet and exercise. So let's now look at the blood vessel. Now what causes, let's look at the blood vessel where, this is the blood vessel that supplies nutrient blood to the heart. Now you can see the plaque, that white thing, that's the plaque that is building up inside the vessel wall, and finally it narrows the vessel wall, and then suddenly the plaque ruptures and the entire vessel is blocked. And that's how the heart attack happens. And it doesn't take much time. It takes a few minutes. So the window of opportunity for you to get help is between 4 to 6 hours. The earlier you can get help, the better it is. So let's now look at how the risk factors cause heart attack. Yeah. So the coronary risk factors cause endothelial dysfunction. What is endothelium? There's a thin layer of cells inside the vessel wall that's a protective layer, so which depends on nitric oxide, which is good for the endothelial layer, and oxidative stress, which is bad. So this ratio is altered by the coronary risk factors that causes inflammation, that causes proliferation of the cells and thrombosis and the clot formation you just saw in the other slide. And that's what causes coronary heart disease, the plaque buildup. Now let's learn about the risk factors. The risk factors are, number 1, diabetes. Number 2, cholesterol. Number 3, blood pressure, high blood pressure. Smoking, family history, age and sex, and obesity. So we should also learn about the multiplier effect of the risk factors. The risk factors are not additive, like 1 plus 1 is not 2 with regards to risk factors. If you have one risk factor and you add another risk factor, your risk quadruples, as you see in this normogram here. And if you add another risk factor, it is 10 times the risk for heart disease. So you have to understand the implications of more risk factors. So the other thing that I want to stress upon you is that you should know your numbers. What are these numbers? The ideal heart numbers. Total cholesterol should be less than 180 milligrams per deciliter. The LDL, L for lousy cholesterol, bad cholesterol, should be less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. And good cholesterol, which is HDL, I call it happy cholesterol, should be more. The more, the better. The women should have more than 50 milligrams per deciliter. Men should have more than 40 milligrams per deciliter. The other one is the triglycerides, which should be less than 150 milligrams per deciliter. And diabetes, blood sugar should be less than 100 milligrams percent. Hemoglobin A1C, that is a reflection how your blood sugars are for the last 3 months, should be definitely less than 6%. It should be less than 7% for definitively for people who have diabetes. And body mass index should be less than 25. If you have more than 25, that means you have increased weight and leading to obesity if you have more than 30 to 35. It all depends on your height and the weight. You should also know the waist circumference. For women, it should be less than 35 inches. For men, it should be less than 40 inches for men. The blood pressure should be 120/80. That's the ideal blood pressure. So what are the certain heart disease treatment options? The ideal option is the lifestyle changes. You can prevent heart disease. You can halt the progression of heart disease by making simple lifestyle changes, which we're going to talk about. The other is the medications. That's the next step. Once you have heart disease, or you have high cholesterol, you have high blood pressure, that should be treated with medication. If the disease is advanced, then you get an angioplasty or stenting or a bypass surgery if it is even more advanced. Or your heart valve is degenerated, then you need a heart valve replacement. Pacemaker insertion if you have a rhythm problem, or defibrillators if you have any malignant arrhythmias. So I want to give you today some tips with regards to a healthy heart. My top 10 tips. Number 1, know your symptoms. Like we mentioned, the symptoms of heart attack, symptoms of angina. Very important because time is muscle. You have 4 to 6 hours of a window of opportunity once the blood vessel is blocked to open it up before permanent damage to the muscle is done. So that's why you should call 911 immediately if you think you're having a heart attack, so you can get help immediately. Taken to the hospital, blood vessel opened up as quickly as possible, and probably place a stent within your coronary artery so the blood flow is re-established. You should know your risk factors. As I mentioned before, do not forget about the multiplier effect. If you have more than one risk factor, the risk for heart disease multiplies. Especially if you have more than 3 or more risk factors, it's called metabolic syndrome. Incidence of cardiovascular disease is much higher in those people who have metabolic syndrome. They have more risk factors. So know your numbers we talked about, right? That's extremely important. You should know what your normal numbers are. You can ask your doctor. He will give you your numbers and compare it with the normal numbers so you can work on it. Be mindful of your waistline. As I mentioned before, women should be less than 35 inches, men less than 40 inches. Again, this depends on the height too. The most important thing is that you should know this is a reflection of your diet and exercise. So now this is what happens. if you don't do it right. My doctor recommended weight loss surgery. He wants to sue me to a treadmill, right? That's very important. Exercise and diet. This gentleman is telling his wife that's what happens if you don't do it yourself. If you drink alcohol, do it in moderation. We do not recommend to drink alcohol. Alcohol has, in moderation, has some beneficial effects. It also has addictive effect. That's why we don't recommend it. But if you drink, do it in moderation. If you smoke, you definitely stop because it is toxic to the heart. Nitric oxide is good for the heart. Carbon monoxide that the smoke generates is extremely bad for the heart. It causes the endothelium to be dysfunctional and plaque buildup and plaque rupture. People who smoke can have sudden heart attacks because of plaque rupture. So it's extremely important to stop smoking right away. If you have stress affects your body both directly and indirectly. Directly because stress causes endothelial dysfunction. The endothelial function I mentioned to you about, that dysfunction causes plaque rupture and is susceptible for clot formation. So that's why it's important to relieve the stress. Whatever way you can, by mind-body connection, positive psychology, by yoga, exercise, and love and laughter. All these things will help to relieve stress. Or you can do this. This pleasant lady is telling her husband, "This is my favorite relaxation tape. It's the sound of ocean waves crashing against the shore, snatching my boss's body off his beach chair and carrying him out all the way to the sea." So that's a good way of relaxing. Now let's talk about the diet. There are several diets that we have, and I'm sure you heard about. The DASH diet is one of the popular ones. Is the dietary approach to stop hypertension diet. Okay, it's one of the good diets, and the other one is a Mediterranean diet, and the third one is a food plate. The food plate incorporates all these diets, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I think you should know about your glycemic index. Sugary drinks, the diets which cause sudden release of blood sugar in the system is not good for you because it releases insulin and it's not good for the body. Now, what are the current dietary patterns, eating patterns in the United States? 3/4 of the population's eating pattern is low in vegetables, fruits that are good for the body. And only half of the meat or exceed total grains. Most Americans exceed the recommended limits for added sugar, saturated fats, and sodium. So you have to pay attention. You should not eat foods which have too much sugar. You should stay away from saturated fats, and sodium content should be limited. The sodium intake ideally should be less than 2,300 milligrams per day. For people with heart problems, it should be 1,500 milligrams per day. So this is the ideal heart healthy eating plate. It is put forward by Harvard University, and I consider it one of the best ones out there. So if you look at the slide here, the vegetables and fruits occupy half of your plate. Vegetables of different varieties, different colors. Potatoes and French fries, they don't count. So the fruits, again, of different colors, very good. And if you have to add oils, the canola oil or the olive oil are better ones. Try to avoid butter and trans fat as much as you can. And water is the best thing. You can have tea and coffee. Try to avoid sugary drinks. They're not good for you. Sodas and sugary drinks. And if you want to have whole grains, it should be a variety of whole grains is fine, but limit refined grains. They are not good for the heart. Again, healthy proteins are fish, boiled or baked, poultry without skin, boiled or baked. You can have beans, nuts, they're all good. Avoid red meat, cheese, avoid bacon of any kind, and cold cuts as much as you can. If you don't, then your cholesterol goes up. Whenever your cholesterol gets too high, a sensor will send out a signal that automatically locks the kitchen door, turns on your treadmill. That's the alternative. The doctor is advising his patient. All right, let's see. Mark Twain, you all know about him. He is one of the greatest American authors and also an entrepreneur and a humorist. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you would rather not. And it's very true even today. I think this is the most important tip that I can give you. Start a regular exercise program. Exercises can be of various types. It can be aerobic exercise like running, walking, fast walking, or jogging. It can be strength exercises, strength training to build up your muscle strength, or stretching exercises which improves your flexibility and decreases any falls or injuries, and balancing exercises like yoga and Tai Chi, which also helps you to decrease the falls or improves your overall health of your body. What the benefits of exercises are many. It strengthens your heart and lungs. It causes weight reduction, lowers your cholesterol, better control of hypertension and diabetes. It also causes stress reduction, increases self-confidence. It definitely decreases risk of heart attacks and strokes. Builds a foundation for a healthier lifestyle, so extremely important. You exercise daily, at least walk 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, can make a tremendous impact. So join the Move More challenge. Everyone should walk, exercise. That's extremely important. From a child all the way to parents to the grandparents. Walk together. That's the best way to do it. Motivates you to walk more and daily. Instead of jogging, can you set my pacemaker to beat faster for 30 minutes a day while I watch TV? No, that doesn't help. All right, the last tip that I can give you is the regular checkup with your doctor. Create a circle of prevention. It's very important. You should do that. Now, these are the ABCs of heart attack prevention. Know your symptoms, know your risk factors. Lifestyle changes is the best defense against heart attacks and strokes. We learned this now, so hopefully we can definitely lead a heart-healthy life. Yes, we can change our lifestyle. So a lot of my patients ask me about when should you talk to your doctor about what symptoms. If you have heart murmurs, if you have shortness of breath at rest, if you have pain in the leg when you're walking, if you have chest pain on exertion, or any type of chest pain, fluid retention, fluttering in the heart or palpitations, or if you have multiple risk factors, you should definitely talk to your doctor. So you ask me, how do you take part in the Heart Month, right? Help share the heart health messages on the internet. Our hearts are healthier together. Join Our Hearts movement by sharing on social media. Wear Red Day to support heart healthy choices. Commit to a walking schedule together with your family members or friends. Try a new heart healthy recipe weekly together. Ask healthcare providers like today to give a presentation to your organization. Partner with a local hospital to do heart screenings. Encourage to post statistics about heart disease in your area to motivate you to lead a better life, better heart healthy life. So these are the tips I can give you for COVID-19 era, that is masking and social distancing extremely important. The vaccines, please take it as soon as it's available for you. Stay active and get adequate sleep, heart healthy diet, self-care and healthcare maintenance. Do not ignore your heart symptoms. If you do have it, please go to your doctor. Cope with stress and anxiety. Stay connected. Participate in American Heart Association events. Spread the heart healthy messages. I want to leave you with this final picture. The power of heart healthy diet and the power of exercise, I cannot overemphasize. It's extremely important to prevent heart diseases, because prevention is definitely better than cure. Now, I want to give you some information about what Heart Institute of East Texas is doing for the last several years. We are trying to transform cardiovascular care in Deep East Texas. We joined forces with Boston Scientific, Close the Gap, to eliminate disparities in underserved population who are at high risk for the last more than 3 years. We are recognized by the American College of Cardiology for high quality of cardiovascular care, given Pinnacle Award for spreading the message of heart healthy diet as well as heart healthy activities in this area. We were given a gold award by Texas Medical Foundation for physician practice quality improvement, and were awarded Heart Care Center National Distinction of Excellence by American College of Cardiology. I'll talk to you more about it, what it means, and the Pioneer Award for being the first of the 10 hospitals in the United States for receiving this award by the American College of Cardiology, putting the Lufkin on the national map. So, close the gap. What is it? Eliminate the treatment disparities in underserved populations at high risk for cardiovascular diseases. So we partnered with Boston Scientific, and we went to Crockett and Jasper, gave educational seminars about the risk factors, about the symptoms of cardiovascular diseases. In these areas, we have done several of these educational seminars for different groups, just like we did in Lufkin, for Rotary Club, Teachers Association, Senior Citizens Group, several of these. So this is the recognition we received by the American College of Cardiology for improving the quality of cardiovascular care in this region. And this is the award we received from Texas Medical Foundation. It's a Quality Improvement Award that was given only to 32 private practices in 7 states out of 3,600 practices, based on quality metrics, based on promoting interoperability, improving the activities in this region, heart healthy activities, and improving the cost and utilization, decreasing the cost. So what it means to get Heart Care Center National Distinction of Excellence from American College of Cardiology. What it means is you get a better care, you get a faster care, your outcomes are better, you get a coordinated care. This translates into quality of life for all the East Texans in this region. So we received this award for 3rd consecutive year. We also were accredited in heart failure as chest pain center for our cardiac cath lab and for the electrophysiology, that is the heart rhythms. One of the only 2 hospitals in the state of Texas to receive Heart Care Center and all the other accreditations in subspecialties in this region at the time. We also were one of the very few to receive 3rd year in a row Heart Care Center National Distinction of Excellence. I think that's important because East Texas needs special attention to spread the message of heart-healthy diet and spread the message of controlling the risk factors and spread the message of improving the activity. Join the MOVE movement. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart, and it's so true. Helen Keller, you all know about her. She is a great American writer, a lecturer, and also the lady who brought this Disability Act in this country. She's an activist to improve the condition for people with disabilities because herself she was blind and was deaf. Well, thank you very much for your kind attention, and thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We wouldn't be able to do this with our sponsors, so thank you to SERPRO of Lufkin, South Nacogdoches County, and the Heart Institute of East Texas. We'll see you next time.